Welcome to Reddit Revenge. Let's dive into today's tale. On paper, Shane was a legend. 40 years in, 5 from retirement, the team guru everyone swore could debug a black hole with a paperclip. When I joined our global support team in the UK, 7 years experience, not green but new to the company. His name came up in every onboarding call. When you're stuck, go to Shane. And at first, it checked out. He knew the dusty corners of our legacy stack, had scripts older than some interns, and could cite incident IDs from 2009 like nursery rhymes. The team was kind, especially Mel, my phone-a-friend across the Atlantic who, in my view, matched Shane pound for pound on actual knowledge. But there was a detail from her one in-person meeting with him that stuck with me. He was 450 pounds, often on oxygen, privately racing the clock to keep his medical coverage long enough to retire. Fine, I thought. We all have storms to navigate. Then the company pivoted. New product line, new tooling, new certifications. I dove in headfirst, late nights, labs, brown bag sessions, because a clean slate is the fairest field. The guru didn't. Meetings turned brittle. When I was late from a customer call, he'd cut in with, "Nice of him to grace us with his presence." In email, he'd CC our boss to nitpick commas. Felt petty, but survivable. I figured the work would speak. I didn't know he'd try to rewrite the script live, while 100 managers listened. The pivot made me the new software guy by accident and effort. Tickets found me. Field engineers pinged me. Mel joked I'd become the adult in the room when the new stack misbehaved. That's when the sniping escalated into sabotage light. Shane would reply all to technical summaries with non-sequiturs, question wording on postmortems he hadn't read, or announce in stand-up that he'd heard concerns about my approach. Never specifics, always smoke. Mel rang one afternoon. "What's your beef with him?" "None," I said. She'd ask around. Weeks later she called back, voice tight. He'd bragged to her about putting that smartass punk in his place. Why? Because I was taking his role. I laughed bitterly. He had opted out. Then came the day a 7-figure SLA dangled over our heads like a guillotine. A major outage tore through the new platform. The incident bridge swelled past 100 listeners. VPs, directors, program leads. Our manager split us into tiger pairs. She put me with Shane. I muted, swore under my breath, and unmuted as a professional. 10 minutes into our side call, the truth crystallized. He knew nothing about the new estate. Not the logs. Not the health checks. Not even the patching workflow. He needed hand-holding for basics. I shared my screen, narrated every pivot, tunneled through services and log streams until the culprit blinked at us. A bad patch. "We wait for senior approval to roll back," I said, jotting notes to bring to the main bridge. His icon went gray. Skype glitch, I thought. I didn't yet see the knife. I rejoined the main bridge ready to brief Cleanly. Root cause identified, rollback path known, risk assessed. Instead, I walked into a firing squad. The incident manager detonated on me. "Why did you deploy incorrectly? Why did you refuse the fix?" Refuse? Deploy incorrectly? My brain stuttered. Then I saw Shane's tile light up as he smoothly narrated a fiction. He'd coached me to the cause. I had made an error, and I was hesitant to remediate. Heads nodded. Because of tenure. Because myth beats evidence when people don't know where the bodies are buried. My boss protested. Her voice was a drop in a waterfall. I ate a public dressing down and a formal verbal warning. My first in a decade. While the chat flooded with "nice catch," Shane, and clapping emojis. He collected a commendation for saving the day I had spent actually saving. When the bridge ended, I stared at my monitor until the reflection looked like a stranger. Anger is loud. Humiliation is quiet and heavy. Later, Mel called in a whisper. He'd rung her after the bridge to bask. "Put that kid in his place." My hands shook, not from rage now but alignment. I finally understood the shape of his resentment. He would rather burn my career than learn a new stack. "If only I had a recording," Mel sighed. "Skype announces them, we both knew." That's when the plan arrived, fully formed, simple and mean as a scalpel. If he wanted to perform for an audience, I'd give him one. If he wanted applause, he'd earn silence instead. I pinged him. Have a minute to talk? He replied with a smiley. When the call began, I said evenly, heads up, recording. The Skype banner appeared. He slipped into HR-safe platitudes. Sorry, I felt upset. Unfortunate misunderstandings. We should loop in management. I went straight at it anyway. You lied on the bridge. He cooed something about perspectives. Okay, I said, stopping the recording now. Click. Banner gone. Now Skype isn't recording. I let the silence lengthen. You know exactly what you did. Masks are hard work. They itch. His slipped almost audibly. He exhaled and said the quiet part out loud. That I needed to respect long-serving people. That he'd put me in my place again if needed. That the new stack was shiny nonsense and he was 2 years from retirement, not starting over. I didn't spare him. Called him a dinosaur, coasting on reputation while others carried his pager. He snorted. You think you own this now? Watch yourself. Speaking of new software, I said, suddenly calm. Ever heard of OBS? Google it. I hung up. 3 minutes later, Slack messages arrived like hailstones. He begged. Don't share it. He'd lose his retirement package, his medical coverage. I'd ruin him. My hands hovered over the keyboard, not because I doubted the next step, but because I suddenly understood the stakes he'd hidden behind his cruelty. Then I attached the file to internal channels anyway, with a timeline of the incident and the precise moments he'd claimed my work as his own. Truth without theater. Evidence without adjectives. Corporate investigations are not cinematic. They are slow, meticulous, and suffocating. HR and InfoSEC scheduled interviews, pulled bridge recordings and chat logs, audited our tickets. The Skype half-recording and the OBS clip were a match set. The mask, then the man. Managers who had clapped for him on the bridge suddenly remembered how often my name appeared in successful changes and hotfixes. His mentoring emails wilted under timestamps. My warning was quietly rescinded and purged. The commendation he'd pocketed was unpinned. 2 weeks later, he was terminated for misconduct. He applied to convert it to early retirement. The company refused. The day the announcement hit our team channel, a terse "we wish him well in his future endeavors." I closed my laptop and just breathed. It wasn't triumph. It was decompression. Mel rang that evening. Her voice a complicated knot. Relief, vindication, and something darker. She told me he'd confided in her months earlier about debts stacked like bad Jenga. The retirement package was the duct tape holding his life together. Without it, the oxygen machine, the meds, the steady doctor's appointments, all suddenly billboards with price tags. Do you regret it? She asked. I stared at the ceiling fan spin. I regret he made it necessary, I said. And I regret he chose me as the thing to break because learning felt harder. Both can be true. The inbox stayed quiet for the first time in a year. Quiet is underrated. Work normalized. Tickets returned to being puzzles instead of politics. Our incident bridges shrank back to technicians and the few managers who actually read notes. Mel and I led brown bags to bring the rest of the team fully into the new tooling. Screen sharing, laughing when demos broke, writing runbooks that didn't assume secret knowledge. The myth of the one guy who knows faded. In its place, a bench of people who could cover for one another without drama. Every so often, I'd get an email meant for Shane, old vendors pinging a dead address, and forward it politely. Once, I almost typed, "He won't be joining." I deleted the sentence. Weeks bled into months. Then Mel's name flashed on my phone at an odd hour. Her silence at hello told me the news before she spoke it. Shane had died, complications from the same health issues he'd been managing poorly for years. 6 months after his exit. No dramatic details. Just a body that ran out of margin. I sat there with a dial tone in my chest. Revenge doesn't prepare you for aftershocks. I hadn't wanted him dead. I had wanted him honest or gone. The file I'd shared hadn't been a weapon in my mind. It was a mirror. But mirrors can be cliffs to men who refuse to look. I went for a long, stupid walk in the rain and told no one. Some victories hum. This one hissed. The moral math got messy. HR would say the company's decision and his choices drew the line from incident to outcome. Not me. My friends said, he tried to end your career, he chose the fight. The other story, quieter, meaner, whispered at 3 a.m. You pulled a thread and the jumper unraveled around a man already cold. In the day, I could list the facts. He lied on a public bridge, weaponized tenure, confessed intent to harm me professionally, and mocked the work the company needed to survive. Any engineer would dump a process that corrupt. Any manager would fire a person who refuses to update their skill set and abuses peers. At night, the facts felt like paperwork. I thought about his oxygen tubes. I thought about the way power makes us lazy and fear makes us cruel. I also thought about 23-year-old me who would have quit quietly, eaten the warning, and learned to duck. I wasn't that boy anymore. If systems are going to be fair, people inside them have to tell the truth when it's hard. Maybe if I'd known the last page of his story, I would have paused. Or maybe that's self-flattery after the fact. Mel said something that stuck. You didn't kill him. His refusal to change did. You refused to be collateral damage. It didn't make me feel better. It made me feel accurate. There's a difference. The team culture shifted in the space Shane left. Not because we ran empathy workshops, but because we changed defaults. We stopped Leoneizing hoarded knowledge. We wrote down how to do things. We paired seniors with juniors and made, I don't know, an acceptable sentence. In interviews, we asked more about how candidates learned than what acronyms they could stack. New starters joined and didn't get hazed. They got handbooks. Mel became the unofficial conscience of our group. She'd nudge me when I slipped into sarcasm with a rookie question. I'd ping her when we needed to push back on leadership trying to make hero culture policy again. We sometimes spoke about Shane in the past tense like an architectural flaw we'd finally refactored. Once, at 1 a.m. UK time during a gnarly cutover, I caught myself thinking Shane would have loved this, the old fire drill adrenaline, the control. Then I imagined him derailing the root cause and blaming a junior, and the warmth cooled. You can acknowledge someone's good without excusing their harm. You can also refuse to miss the harm just because the good used to dazzle you. In that way, the lesson he taught me after he was gone was the one he refused in life. Systems win or lose on how they treat the newest person who has the least power. That's where rot starts. That's where repair sticks. I kept the OBS file in a folder called Evidence, Not Trophies. Once a quarter, when performance reviews asked for impact stories, I didn't mention it. Not because I was ashamed, but because I didn't want my career stapled to a man's worst day. My impact is a dozen clean cutovers, 100 bugs strangled in their cradles, and a team that no longer whispers "go to the guru" like superstition. Sometimes, though, I open the transcript and read the part where he says he'd do it again in a heartbeat. The honesty is stark. It reminds me that villains don't cackle. They justify. And heroes aren't real. Grown-ups make choices with costs. If you're waiting for a story where revenge tastes like champagne, this isn't it. It tastes like cold water and a hard chair outside HR. It tastes like the knowledge that choosing truth may break things you didn't intend to break, and still be the only ethical move. I don't celebrate what happened to Shane. I also don't apologize for defending the work and the people the work serves. Those both live in me. When a new grad onboards now and asks a stupid question, I hear my younger self and the crackle of an incident bridge. I mute my sigh, share my screen, and type the answer into the runbook while we talk. It's slower in the moment. It's faster in the long run. That's the cycle I get to break. In the end, I didn't need to ruin a man to win. I needed to refuse a lie. I recorded the mask, then the confession, and handed them to a system that, this time, chose truth over myth. The consequence was larger than I imagined and heavier than I wanted. But the alternative was letting someone else make me small because change made him afraid. I won't do that to myself. I won't do that to the next person either. If there's any good to wring from this, it's that our team learned to build benches, not pedestals. That's my closure. A quieter bridge, a fairer culture, a promise to never treat a new hire the way I was treated. Now I want to hear from you. What would you have done in my place? Would you have kept the recording to protect his retirement, or escalated like I did to protect the team? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading. If the story hit you, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next one. And share this with someone who loves a sharp, grounded revenge story. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp.